can be used as a hyphenated word depending on the usage.
Saw that word.
As an adjective, it could be.
I challenged somebody on that.
Yeah.
That was wrong. They had it as one word, and I'm all no.
No, it's two.
I always see it as a hyphenated.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but
That's when it's used as a hyphenated word.
saw that word.
As an adjective.
You are live on YouTube now.
Okay. Are we gonna hear the echo like that the whole time?
Yeah, it's two.
I always see it as a hyphenated.
Yes.
But
You are live on YouTube now.
okay. Are we gonna hear the echo like that the whole time? I always see it as a
Trying
hyphenated.
to figure out what's causing this. What part of the connection is making that happen? You are live on YouTube.
We're gonna hear the echo like that. Now it's weird.
Same setup. Oh, I know.
We can sing a song that's gonna sing it back to us. That would be like our own echo. Oh, you're cheating. You're cheating. It's good though. I like you. I'm liking this.
I MacGyvered it.
You MacGyvered it. I like this a lot.
Which now is an adjective.
Yes, it is. To stop the echo, she plugged in some headphones. You gotta like that, Matt.
Can you still hear Matt?
Do you hear us okay?
That's ingenuity, is what we call that.
All right, we're gonna hit
So
record.
he blocked himself, right? So,
Yeah,
okay.
he's-
Okay, no Catherine. So you're gonna go check? You sent her the link. I saw you CC'd me on that. I saw that. So it did go.
Do we start or wait?
No, what are you gonna check, Ruth, just to see if she answered you? Okay. Well, in the meantime, Matt, I'm asking everybody that I know, that I care about, because we're having our debrief meeting for the chili cook-off on Tuesday, I think. Any, from the crowd perspective, anything that, other than we know that the voting thing for the online voting was a disaster.
Right.
People couldn't log into it. Is there any changes as a spectator slash paying participant that you'd like to share with us?
No, I really enjoyed the music going on. I thought the setup was fine. As far as, getting around the area and being able to make sure you got to everybody. The little maps that were provided,
Uh-huh.
I think you needed an orienteering class to go along with those. It was
You
hard
needed
for me to figure out which way was which on the
Yeah,
map.
our original intention was we had the stage on there. When the first version that we printed, it was like red.
Right.
And so you could look at the stage and see that and like hold it. But then
Right.
when we printed it, we made some changes and it wasn't.
Yeah, the point of reference would have
point
been
of
nice,
reference.
having that, as a stage or whatever you put as a point of reference, then it would have been, okay, we can.
Right. Originally, we had arrows to the Philomath Police Department booth, and the rest of the team didn't think that was very funny. What else?
Place
How
your
about,
vote here.
yeah, place your vote first. How about, did you pre-buy your tickets or did you buy them when you got there?
We pre-bought them, and that
Okay.
seemed to go flawlessly.
Okay, that's that's good to hear. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was easy. Well, I didn't have to actually do it. My wife did it, so it was easy for me.
I don't see her on here. Let's see. I don't see a pop-up. Oh, there we go. There she is, waiting room in mid. Let's make sure she gets on, then you can fly away. Let's see. Oh, it looks like it's gonna work.
There she is.
Hey,
Okay.
Everybody. Appreciate it. Yeah,
Hey.
just coming in hot after another meeting. I appreciate it.
Coming in
Thank you.
hot. We're good. So we were just talking, thank you, Ruth. Appreciate it. Okay, you got it. We were just talking chili cook-off stuff. We'll wait to the end on that so I don't bore you guys. I was just looking for our debrief. We want to make some changes and I'll let you guys know what those are if you want to hang around at the end. So. You wanna
Awesome.
start
All right, I'd like to call to order the Philomath Police Committee on this date, Tuesday, September 20th of 2022 at 4 p.m. Those in attendance today are Councilor Lehman, Councilor Bisco via Zoom, myself, Teresa Nielsen, and Chief Rubin. First matter of business is the minutes from our last meeting, which was held June 14th of 2022. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. And the second?
Sure, I'll second because it's awkward to chair. It's awkward to chair in second minutes, right?
It is, isn't it?
Thank you, Councillor Bisco and Councillor Lehman. If there's no further discussion regarding the minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. All three of us, and motion passes unanimously. We'll now turn the time over to Chief Rubin for a discussion on the agenda for the police committee.
Okay, so this should be a short meeting, I hope, for you guys, not for me, but we don't have that much content, but the stuff that I want to talk about is important, and you guys need to know what's going on. So I'm not sure if you guys know what the kind of the hiring environment is going on in law enforcement right now. It's brutal. I'm not sure what the numbers are for the police department, Corvallis Police and the Sheriff's Department right now, but hiring is incredibly difficult. We typically have 30 or 40 candidates when we open up for one position. And, we've been open up on one, we have one vacancy right now, and we've been open for a couple months now. We've had 3 applicants.
Oh, wow.
And it's bad. And so a little background here on that. So I'll kind of, my first 2 things, my personnel briefing and my hiring process briefing, I'll kind of meld them into one because it's really one discussion. So we had Aaron Elliott retire this year in August. We have Mark Kepi announced his retirement, which will be December 1st this year. So I'll let you guys know when we know more about if we're going to do some kind of a get together on that or.
Awesome.
So that's great. I mean, we want him to stay around, but he's ready, and that's good. Bad timing for us just because of what's going on in the office with some of our personnel issues with the medical stuff that I've told you guys before.
Right.
So timing wise, it's not the best. And then we have, and I think I mentioned this to you before, we have a 3rd officer who's been with us for about 3 years, who is a finalist to go to Benton County. And so, well, if everything goes like I just said, we'll be down to 4 people to fill shifts through the holidays. So we'll be canceling vacations, get all the stuff that we have to do when we're short, and it's bad. So pretty much all year we've run with a couple guys short already because we've had 2 different guys have surgeries. One had neck surgery, one had knee surgery. We've had guys with COVID. Just if you look at our shift coverage, if you add it all up, hours worked and hours guys off with, Aaron retiring in August and then the rest of the early year, we've pretty much averaged 6 people all year, which obviously reflects in like our traffic stats. When we're short, like right now, Mark's by himself today, who's been in there all day writing reports is all he's doing today. So when you're by yourself, there's not enough time really to do any more than just handle calls and write reports. So that being said, hiring somebody is tough. And then when I wanted to brief you guys on is the whole picture, which is the academy, which is a disaster. I don't know if you've been following, but the director of DPSSD resigned about a month and a half ago. They weren't granted their full operating budget that they wanted to host the amount of academy classes that they want. So the next academy class scheduled right now is in February of next year.
Yeah.
So when I go to the Chiefs meetings, there's this queue of people waiting. And I haven't heard since last week. They may have added, they're trying to add an emergency class now, but the February class is already full. So what agencies are doing, they're just doing what we used to do 20 years ago is you hire somebody and you just put them with a person in the car and they start their training process without going to the academy. When the academy spot opens, you send them, could be a year into their training, which is the exact opposite of what you want to do. But that's what the world we're living in right now. So our local chiefs are meeting tomorrow morning. We meet every Wednesday morning about what's going on. So I know Oregon State University Police has people waiting. I know Corvallis PD's, I think, got 4 or 5 people waiting. I think the Sheriff's Department's got 4 or 5 people waiting. So that's a disaster right there. I say disaster, that's a big word. It's not a disaster, it's just tough. I personally liked what happened with one of our officers, Blake Bowers. When we hired Blake, COVID was going on. There was delays in the academy. It's actually, in my work background, working in Los Angeles when I first started. When you start there, you go to the academy and then you go to work in the jail. And you have to work in the jail for a certain amount of time before you go to patrol. Then you go to what they call patrol school for 6 weeks, where you learn patrol operations. I like that model because when you learn how the patrol car stuff, here it's at the academy, and down there it's after you've gone to the academy and been a cop for a year. And so you've written tons of police reports, you've been involved in use of force issues, you've been you've basically memorized the penal code, and you know what you're doing. So when you get in a patrol car, you've got this 1.5 years of time on the sheriff's department already before you even turn the ignition key on. Whereas here, you go to the academy, and we get the person, and they have the only time they've ever been in a patrol car at the academy for a couple of days. So with Blake, we had him for about 3 months before, well, he started the academy and then they stopped it. So we got him back, and he was in the office for 3.5 months on going through his regular training on duty. Then he went to the academy. So when he'll tell you that was great, because he had 3 or 4 months of kind of what's the word I want to use? Kind of a litmus test of he's taking this stuff in the academy, but he's already experienced some of it, so he can actually make sense of what he's learning and how the laws actually really work. And we've talked, I know you've heard it, you guys haven't, but when you talk about legal, knowing the laws, when you read the penal code, like let's say the burglary, what burglary is, well, that's the substantive law. That's how the laws, but really the law is nothing like what it's written in the penal code because of all the case law that's happened to it. All these changes that have been made over the years by judges of what we can do, what you can't do when you're arresting somebody for burglary. So if you don't know that stuff and you're in the academy, you think, oh, burglary means this. But when you get in the real world and your training officers, no, that's not, even though it's written right there, here's the real burglary, and here's what we have to know to make an arrest for burglary when we're doing a burglary investigation. So the real world piece really does meld differently if you had a little bit of experience before you go to the academy, so you can kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of see the reality of what the real world is before you're going into this learning environment. So I actually like it. I don't know if it's going to be great having a person for a year or 6 or 8 months, but it'll be interesting. So back to my hiring process. So we've tested 3 or 4 P3 people that have got through the written test. One of the persons is a really great candidate. He's got an interesting background. He works for the Oregon State University public safety side of the house, not the police side. They have the security piece.
Sure.
And he is in his 40s. We didn't have any female applicants at all yet. And like I've told before you asked me, it's almost impossible for us to hire a female because they get taken away by Corvallis PD and the sheriffs because they pay so much more. So if we get an application from a female and they've also applied over there, they get a job offer, Corvallis PD pays about $20,000 more a year for their officers than we do. And right now, Benton County is 13% higher on their scale than we are. So we're hoping to fix that this coming year. I'll talk about that later. But that's frustrating when we're competing with our local agencies and they make so much more than we do already. So it's difficult. So we've had this one officer from public safety. We've known him for a long time. He's a great guy. He's got an interesting background. He was a police officer in Northern California and got severely injured in a traffic accident. He was hit by a drunk driver. I think he was in the hospital for, I want to say, a year. I mean, he was in horrible condition basically on medical leave for a number of years, and then medically retired because of his injuries at the time. He came up here, moved up here, and has been working at OSU, and now over this time has recuperated all of his medical stuff, and now wants to become back a full-time officer. So of course, everybody that's worked with him loves this guy, and it's got great reviews. So we've given him a job offer. He's passed all our tests, gone through the oral board, and we're just waiting, for the background to be done. So that's one. Then we have another oral board this coming Friday for one other applicant that's a Lane County deputy. His name is Eric Salazar. He's a great kid. He works for the Lane County Sheriff's Office right now in the jail. He's passed all our tests, and we're hoping to get him through the oral board on Friday. And if he does well, we'll move on with him. So The problem with that is, sounds great. We've got 2 applicants that we've got through this little group that seem promising. Problem is, if we hire them, you know, the earliest we're going to get them to the academy is February. That's full. If we get lucky, we don't know when the next one is. So if we hire them today, but if you do the 18-month evaluation out, they have to be at least during FTEP a year after the academy. You're talking the summer of 2024 before they will be by themselves again. I mean, by themselves as officers. So we're going to be in this problem unless we get lucky and find a lateral transfer. Problem is, we've talked about 4 or 5 lateral transfer guys that we know want to come work here, but the sheriff's department hired them. They make $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 more a year than we do right now. So it's a tough hiring environment. So I reached out to Chris. Agencies are doing all kinds of different things. They're doing retention bonuses, hiring bonuses, different things. So we're exploring that right now. That's what I think we should do, because we're going to lose guys. I mean, the guys that are there now are happy. Everybody wants to stay, but over the long, I wouldn't blame somebody if you can go right down the street and make $15,000 or $18,000 more a year, depending on what agency you go to. It's hard for a young family to not take an opportunity like that. I wish I could kill the sheriff. I've known Jeff forever. I can say that because he's stealing my people, which is great because they're great people, and I can't stop him from hiring. I mean, somebody applies for a job, I can't intervene, nor do I want to, and he can't either ethically. So it's frustrating. So I just wanted you guys to know what's going on. We're going to be really short. I think if this all goes according to Hoyle, the next month or two, we do hire these people, we're still going to have a situation where if somebody's sick, we're not going to be able to fill a shift. And we're going to have to go to the sheriff's department and have them fill shifts for us. And we're going to have to reach out to when Chris gets back from his conference, we're going to have that conversation anyway, in case something happens. Somebody gets sick or injured on duty, and we're not going to be able to fill shifts, which we have an obligation to do. We're going to have to contract with the sheriff's office to fill cars at night or during the day in the next months to come over the holidays and stuff as we're going along, which we've never been confronted with that. We've run with 2 people short and canceled vacations and done that. And that's over a long period of time. It's tough because people can't take time off.
Right.
But if we were 3 short, which it looks like is going to happen, we haven't had to deal with that yet. We can do it. We just have 1 person on each shift on the opposites on 12-hour shifts. We'll only be able to fill 1 car on the night shifts during that whole time. And then all the 4 12 shifts butt up to each other. So we run just consecutive, and we can fill the shifts with 1 person, but that's it. There's no overlap. There's no extra people. If people have court, they have to attend court, different things, we won't have backfill behind them.
Right.
So
I have a question.
sure, go ahead.
How long does that process take if you're considering encouraging a lateral move, addressing that salary difference between working here and working at, say, Benton County or Corvallis? How long does that process take to evaluate how to raise?
Well, right now the timing's bad because every agency has a different time frame for when their contract is. Our contract opens again in the spring, I think March, but it's the contract. Our current contract ends in July 1st or June 30th of 2023. Problem is the sheriff's office, they just renewed their contract about 2 months ago. So they got their raises and got up to, they had their salary study, just like we're going to do. And they brought their people up. They're still they compete with Corvallis PD because they're in the same area. They're in the same building, right? So they're still about 12% lower than Corvallis PD. We've always tried to stay close to the sheriff's department because we work the same area and we have the same functions. Corvallis PD is a little different, the way the agency's set up, but us as the sheriff's department, that's why they're stealing our guys, because our guys are have the same functionality as their guys. So we do the same kind of work and go to the same kind of calls and do all that kind of stuff. So we've always been close. So they just got a 13% across the board raise for all employees, all levels, including their management staff. And so in addition to that, they got retention bonuses for all their employees they use their COVID money pay their employees not to leave, to go to other places. But that's not included in that 13%. So there's no good answer to your question. The timing is they just finished theirs. I'm sure Catherine knows they did a 5-year contract. So which is weird. Ours has always, and theirs has always been 3. Same thing with Corvallis PD, but they did a 5-year contract. So our union, it's an association, it's not really a union. They've asked they're afraid they're going to lose people. So they've asked Chris to open negotiations early to see if we could come to some, at least even if we told people, applicants, starting in July of next year, this is what the pay is going to be. Even if we didn't make some immediate concessions, at least we could tell applicants starting in July next year for an applicant, for a lateral, starting in July next year, this is what the pay scale is going to be. I don't know. I mean, I think that would be good, but Chris is going to have to decide that. So, that's where we are on the hiring process. So timing wise, it's just been bad. Of course, I'm going to retire in 2024. So then you're going to be looking for a new chief at the same time about all that's going on. So,
Quick question for you, Kim.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does it work between states like Oregon and Washington? Is there like reciprocity?
Yes,
Or-
there is so I think there's about 5 or 6 states on the West Coast that we accept their training standard, which is called POST, Police Officer Standards of Training. California, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, and I think Arizona. The other ones, there's some differences. There's other states too, but those are the ones I know. So if somebody comes here to work, we would adopt if they meet that POST standard, which those states do, we can hire them instead of, they don't have to go to the academy.
Right.
So that's number one. But then they have to do this thing called a career officer development course, which is a 2-week. It's basically the differences in laws. It's basically, it's a legal course that they have to take with all the search and seizure law differences. So they make people go through this little mini academy for 2 weeks. That's what I did when I came here from Los Angeles. I went to COD, and that allows the city that hires them to be able to sign off on the liability of knowing those particular laws. And
Gotcha.
there's several groups of them. So, laterals are, the last 4 people we've hired are laterals from Lynn. We got 2 from Lynn County, and last 3 people we've hired are laterals. So it's great for us because we only have to train them for about a month, and
Right.
we don't have to do the full 18-month training program that we do with DPSST and the academy and all that stuff. I mean, that's why it's so much cheaper. Even if you pay somebody a $10,000 or $20,000 bonus, hey, we're offering a $20,000 signing bonus. It sounds ridiculous, but it saves us about 80 grand.
Right.
It saves us $80,000. I think it was 84,000 the number we came up with. Because number one, we don't have to send them to the academy. Number two, even though you've hired somebody, you're not filling a car for 18 months, basically, almost 18 months, depending on the trainee. They're riding with somebody else. So you're paying an employee, which is great, but you're paying them to be in a car with somebody else, not to be an independent police officer on their own, working a shift. So it's not magic. We're not filling a second shift on let's say, graveyard. They're just riding in a car. There's 2 people on duty, but only 1 car on duty. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So, which sounds a silly way to do it, but it's true if you're talking about vacations and time off, because the trainee takes the time off as the training officer. So if the training officer takes a vacation, the trainee's they're working at the same time. So having a lateral makes a big difference. We can hire a lateral, have them working on their own in about a month, and forego that whole 18-month process of training, doing all the paperwork. We have to do the FTO manual for that person, which is this sign off all the reports that we have to write on that trainee that go to DPSST to certify them as a trainee, as a police officer that first year. It's fantastic if you can find a lateral. So if you know somebody,
Well,
I may slip you some cash on the side.
Well, I was going to say, can we do something devious, like put out some ads like in Washington and California?
Yeah, that's what everybody's doing. The big agencies do that because you got to remember too, you got to be able to pay them more than they're making. So if you're going to go outside the state, like let's say a lot of people, the first words are going to come to your mouth are Seattle PD. Seattle PD is hemorrhaging people right now because of all the stuff going on up there. Well, those guys make $110,000 a year. So are you going to, I mean, cost of living is more in the big city, but so OSU PD's hired some people from there. They pay, OSU PD pays a lot, and they've hired a couple command staff people from Seattle PD. And there's been agencies around that have hired people from Seattle. I think Corvallis PD's hired a couple people, I think, from the Seattle area. So it's got to be the combination of both. It's got to be, yeah, they want to come to Oregon, but they want to, I mean, if you're already a cop somewhere, you've got seniority. So to leave, there's got to be a reason. You got to either going to be taking a better job, like as a detective or a special unit inside of an agency, or making more money, or your in-laws moved up to Corvallis like mine, and you don't have a choice.
Right.
So you have to have a reason. So there is reason. Some people just don't want to live in a big city anymore, and they'll take a pay cut. You're right. We have not advertised, like specifically like hung a flyer at Seattle PD's, briefing room, but stop it, Catherine. Don't laugh. I'm watching you guys. I don't want to laugh at my own jokes. So, but what's funny is the DPSST, if you go on to Oregon Jobs, you'll find the DPSST website, their jobs page. That, believe it or not, they do share that in all of our adjoining states.
Oh,
And Washington does the same on ours. So our people, we get emails and stuff from state, Seattle PD and all these places all the time trying to hire cops away. It's a vicious business right now, because it's one of those weird jobs that it takes so long to train and to cover all the civil liability issues of a police officer position to get them to state certified. And that's why they passed a law here. I don't know if you guys know this, that if I hire Teresa right now, and I sent her to the academy, got her off of training after the 18 months, if Corvallis PD hires her if within the 3 years they have to pay us for the training. And to train her, I think the number is, it's like $140,000 or $50,000. If you think of the cost of hiring, training, paying your salary for the year and a half, right? The training officer's time to do the training, it ends up being about 150, 160, I think is the number that most agencies use. Corvallis PD, somebody just went from Corvallis PD to Albany PD, and Corvallis PD is charging Albany PD for the training.
Wow.
I thought that's pretty, I mean, that makes for fun meetings with the chiefs. But that's the kind of the landscape right now is brutal. I mean, I could tell you all the reasons, that's for another meeting, but the big reason is right now is, if you talk to young people and you say, do you want to be a police officer? The answer is yes, I'd love to do that, but I don't understand why you guys would go arrest somebody for some vicious crime and then they don't do any prison time.
Right.
What's the satisfaction you get? How are you protecting your city? So there's this, we call it police officer apathy, or prospective police officer apathy of the system right now. You've heard me, is kind of broken, kind of nationally. It's not just Oregon, it's the West Coast, about what law enforcement is and how it works. And public safety in general is a hard thing to explain to somebody. If you're going to do this job, what's the daily satisfaction of doing it? That's why I kind of sell the small town family atmosphere that we have, which has been good. And you ask my guys, it's that part if I could find people that live here, and the guys that we have working here like it because they're from here. So you're an officer protecting people that in your hometown. If you can find those people, great. That's the King's X of the whole thing, if you can do it. That's a reason to keep people local. But money, I mean, in our environment with the inflation that it is right now, and trying to find people, if you're making $65,000 a year and the neighboring agency is making 75, it's hard. It's a hard, just to be frank, it's just a hard competitive market for that. So
I was kind of thinking you could put up a flyer that says, "We prosecute criminals in Philomath, and we're offering you a signing bonus."
Yes. I like it. We'll talk later. I mean, I'm not asking for a raise. I mean, I make the police chief at Oregon State University, who's got 15 years less experience than me, she makes $180,000 a year. That's her salary.
Wow.
And she makes more than Corvallis police chief, who makes 160, and the sheriff, who makes 35,000 more than I do. That doesn't mean anything other than in the agency size. I mean, I was the chief at Oregon DOJ. I know how it all works. You know, I like working here. I've never gone to Chris and asked him for a raise ever. I enjoy my job. I've got flexibility. But you know, to get it when my job opens, that's going to be a problem. I'm just sending out the future. It's going to be, if you don't keep the guy I want to be the chief, is Dave, who would be an excellent chief, keep him around. He's financially comfortable with his wife as a, you know, the supervising nurse and comfortable. He doesn't need a lot of money, but in the future, that's something we're going to have to tackle.
Sure.
Catherine.
So very, very helpful overview and perspective on that hiring process and kind of where we're sitting. You mentioned a salary survey, and I know that's something the council has approved looking forward as something to be done. It seems like this is a space that really reinforces that, not only for our current hiring needs, but also for at the point where you are retiring, so that we have kind of a benchmark of what we should be looking at and budgeting moving forward.
Yep.
Am I hearing all of those things correctly?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I think I will tell you, I'm glad you brought that up. My fear talking to Chris about the salary study is, in the past, we've always had these city comparators, which I think is stupid. I'm just being honest with you guys. Our comparators are like Tillamook, Phoenix PD, these small agencies and they picked them, you know, 30 years ago, that was a comparator, these small agencies. But market analysis, and I'm hoping that this company does it. They should be asking, who are we competing for resources with? Who are we competing? And I'm not saying we need to make as much as Corvallis PD, but we need to be competitive with the sheriff's department, at least close. I've never said we need to make more, but they are our true. We've lost 6 since I've been the chief, 6 employees to the sheriff's department and 1 to Corvallis PD. So if you look at the intrinsic cost of doing that as a city that our size, you know, we put a lot of man hours and blood, sweat, and tears into training these guys, which is great. They're every one of those. That's why they're hiring them, because they're excellent officers. We picked really good people to hire and done a good job of training people. But you know, that's not the best way to do business over a long period of time. Business model or city government model. If you talk to small town police chiefs, there is and I'll just say it out loud, there's 2 philosophies. There is, I'm going to hire a bunch of older guys that are close to retirement and sell them the small town and, you know, Mayberry, hey, come work for us the last 3 or 4 years of your career. So you can do that. There's agencies that do that. I can, off the record, sometime I can tell you who they are. And then there's the other model. When I came here, is like, no, I don't want to be that. I want to reduce crime. I want to do the job that we're supposed to do here and make this town a livable place. And for people that like you two that have lived here a long time, I think you can see that over the last 7 or 8 years, we've reduced crime dramatically, and Philomath is a great place to live. People want to come live here, and I take a lot of pride in that. And that's because I think we've hired good people that are out there suppressing crime and doing excellent criminal investigations to keep bad people from wanting to live here and come do business here. So you've got this, there's 2 dynamics there. There's 2 strategies. So in my strategy, you're going to lose those people because you're training them to basically be good detectives in their current patrol positions. And then that they become what? They become good candidates for other larger agencies and you could you can talk to the sheriff and the police chief. If you want to verify what I'm saying, I'm telling you exactly what they're looking for. And our people are attractive to those agencies because they're local. They've already been trained. They're highly sought after. They've got a good reputation. They want to hire them. So there's a balance there that's hard for me to accept on our strategy. I think we've done a good job. We've lost some people, a lot of people, for good reasons, but there's a cost, right? I mean, you can't put a dollar on it, but there's a big cost of having to rehire people over these years to fill positions of guys that we've lost to other agencies. So that,
Can I ask
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
follow-up kind of
Yeah,
to
you
that?
bet. You bet.
I would love to see whatever we do. So I agree with you on the fact that we look at market, that
Yep.
market analysis of what we're looking at for hiring rather than comparables, because it's just a different, it's
Yeah.
just a different metric.
Yep.
But it also, whatever that salary study looks like, I do think that bringing in, you know, the comparables of our close by competitors, so Oregon State University, Corvallis, Benton County Sheriff's Department, you know, I don't know if we go out further than that, but those are our immediate competitors in that space. And how do we get ourselves up to speed? I do have a question that's just a little tangential to that, which
Sure.
is in this interim space. So we're hiring to fill a vacancy right now, right? We're not actually adding an officer. So the current
No, we're
hiring
filling,
effort.
we have one vacancy and one vacancy in December. So
Okay.
if we
So-
could find the
so
second
that's-
person, we would hire that into that proposed vacancy in December.
Okay,
And then
super. So
a
that-
third one also coming up.
Okay. And that helps clarify that.
Yep.
I'm just curious in that space of, we know we're looking potentially, unless it's a lateral, out to 2024 before we have somebody fully ready to be on their own. What does that contract option look like when we contract officers to kind of fill in our staff shortages with Benton County, the
I don't
Sheriff's
know.
Department? So is that
We've never gone there, Catherine.
okay?
So that is something that Jeff would have to, if we approach him on that, we're gonna have to, they basically charge us like what it would cost to have one of their officers
Mhm.
with all the ancillary costs of that person, that position to fill a shift and what that cost would be. So,
Okay. And if we know that at some point, if we can get
Yeah.
that, what that
Oh, yeah,
cost
we'll-
will be compared
Oh,
to
yeah.
what our hourly would be here otherwise, that might also help
Yep.
with some of the other asks, which is, you know, hiring bonuses, potentially lateral transfer bonuses,
Yep.
but also just salary in general. So if that becomes available, I'd be interested in seeing that, just because
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
going to be something
yeah.
we'll need to use.
Sure,
Right.
no doubt about it. We'll talk about that in this committee and absolutely as we're moving forward, no doubt about it.
Thank you.
Also, Ken, could you touch on how the union negotiation process impacts how we can pay people if it does, and the
Yeah.
bonus
Yeah,
situation?
we're pretty lucky in that we have a pretty informal, they don't have a union, they have an association. So they don't have a full-time union representative. They have a lawyer that does, let's say one of the guys is getting sued or something, which obviously is not happening, but if they can, they have an attorney on retainer that gives them employee advice. And then they can hire that person if they need it for legal reasons. But when they come down to the negotiation time, that group that they belong to, that lawyer comes and does the negotiation on behalf for the contract. So
Okay.
the last two contracts, it was super easy. I mean, they didn't want a gigantic raise. They basically want a cost of living. Came in, here's our proposal. All the other stuff about everyday work everybody was happy. And so the last two in a row since I've been here, it's been, I mean, like a 2-week process and was over. There was no elongated, negotiations and standstills and all that, the back and forth and all that stuff. So I think what the city's going to be tackling going around is inflation, what the cost of living is going to be, and then comparing, the union wants to be competitive and pay for obvious reasons, but also for those intrinsic reasons we're talking about wanting to work here and not losing partners to other agencies. So they're going to be coming to that. So the process is they open it up usually 3 or 4 months ahead, and they make a proposal, and then the city evaluates it, and the city has an attorney, and they evaluate it, and they look at those comparators like Catherine was talking about and see if it's legit, and then they go from there, and they just go back and forth until they come up with a number. It hasn't been hard the last couple. I know Corvallis is in a long elongated conversation about this. The sheriff's department got a raise. Corvallis they're in the middle of theirs, and so here's the hard part for me. Like a police officer in Corvallis makes more than my lieutenant, Dave Gursky.
Right.
So that when you work with it every day, those are I know it's hard to divorce that in your head, but that's an everyday. My officers are going to the calls with Corvallis PD and Benton County every day. When you at the call and a rookie police officer at Corvallis PD is making $20,000 more than my senior officer, Mark Kepi, that's hard for guys to swallow, just to be quite
Sure.
frank, So those are difficult conversations to have. But impact of the actual contract and all that negotiation, that's just what I said. It's very simple. Just about what are we willing to pay? I told Chris, I'll just say it out loud to you guys. Teresa knows, I think we're due to add another officer to the force, just based on call load and what's going on right now, just being able to fill shifts. I told Chris I would be willing to punt on that to be able to get a long-term contract and run with the amount of people we're running to keep good people. To me, over time, it makes, as an administrator, it's selfish for me. As an administrator, I'd rather have good people, pay them more than have an extra person to do more work. I don't know if that's making any sense. But I told them, if you guys have heard me say, we're a couple years due for adding one more person to fill shifts. Because right now, we're still going, I want to say about 60 or 70 days a year on graveyards with only one person working based on the overlap, which is incredibly dumb, in my opinion, just for officer safety purposes alone. But so we need another person just for our call load and the growth of the city.
Right.
But I'd rather forego that for a few years to get stabilized with on equal footing with at least competitive with the sheriff's department for pay, and our benefits are great. Everything else is, I think everybody's happy, and the current officers are happy. So I don't know if that answers your question. It's not really a great answer because I don't have a perfect answer.
Yeah, mostly I was wondering if there's going to be an impact if we do like a bonus program or anything like that, if that has to be accounted for in dealing with the officers association.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'd have to, if we ever did something like that, other agencies that I've looked into that have done it, you basically have an agreement that says if we're going to have a bonus, you have to basically say, here's this bonus. You can't use this in your negotiations for the next contract. You can't use those terms. That's not like the starting point for the next contract.
Right.
If you pay somebody a retention, every police, I don't know if you guys know, Portland Police Bureau just paid every single cop they have $20,000 to stay. Every police officer, if you do a search on Oregonian there's agencies that are paying people to not leave, to go to other agencies because like I've told you, the cost of having the vacancies far outweighs the cost of that, which is a terrible place to be in as an employer, right? We all know that. It's not, they've got the good employees have great leverage right now, everywhere, school district, everywhere. So it's a bad situation, but we would have, if we were to do something like that, it would have to be contractual because that's our agreement with the union or the association. Any kind of pay is negotiable, and you would have to float that idea to them to see if it's something they want to do or not. So yeah, you bet.
Thanks.
Anything else on that? Oh, that's just so uplifting.
We're all feeling encouraged.
Current personnel, I gave you that. I think the only thing that's killing us right now, time-wise, right, because we're running short, is just overall traffic stats. The only thing that's down. Last year we were way up on traffic tickets. We were way over the average by about 400 tickets a year, I think. And now this year we're probably 400 or 500 tickets down. But crimes, thank God, I think knock on stuff. Our crime is really low. It's been great. The cases that we worked this year have been great. Crime's way down, which is great compared to the other local cities. Haha. Which I love to talk to at the chiefs meetings. I'm happy with everything that's going on in town right now. I'm looking forward to the new traffic when they start breaking ground on this thing. I think that'll make a huge difference in the traffic situation in town. We're still writing a lot of tickets, but like I've said, I mean, I think the new construction will make a big difference, especially in the high speed area, which is right here. Like I said before, I don't know if I've said it to you guys, we can write 5,000 tickets on Main Street, and Applegate, it doesn't do any good. I mean, it's great revenue for the court, not for us, but 90-something% of the tickets we write are people that do not live in Philomath.
Right.
And trying to get, it's people that are living all over, and it doesn't really impact. We can write tickets every day, and it doesn't really impact the speeds on Main Street. I think this is one of those times where some environmental changes in the road and the different things and lighting and everything that's going to happen with the narrowing of the streets, I think will make a huge difference. At least that's all the studies say, and all the traffic studies you read about that. So other than that, it depends on if you want to talk about it. I put Chili Cookoff debriefing on there. I wanted to tell Catherine and Matt, you guys need to know this. I don't know if I've talked much about how the foundation works. Have I explained to you guys about the foundation at all? I have. Okay, so just so you guys know, the foundation pays for all the outlay of the whole Chili Cookoff process, and they also pay for Percy. The city pays $0 for the dog, for all of his expenses, all of it. So I just make sure you guys know that. So for the Chili Cookoff, all the the business outlay of paying for things like the banner and outhouses and different things to get the event going and to actually make it happen all comes from the foundation. All the money comes back to the foundation, and then we at the end, when all the money's in and we deduct the amount of expenses that run it, we split it. And the way it happens is, just being transparent so that you guys know, is that 50% of the money goes to the charity. So let's say we take in 20,000, which we want. It's not gonna be that much, but I think it's gonna be high. It's gonna be about 18,000, I think, this year, which is a lot. So if it's 20, yeah, it's amazing. This year you guys were there. It was unbelievable. So if it was 20, we would take 10 would go to the charity, and then the two foundations share the rest, split the 10. So ours just goes into doing stuff like having Percy, gym equipment, things like that in our office. And the sheriff's department uses it for their posse program, which, by the way, I can tell you, we're meeting with the posse. They want to move their posse home to the Frolic grounds. So we're which is exciting. They've approached us, and we've had a great relationship with the posse and for years, and they don't have a real home to train and do all their stuff. And they're willing to help out with fundraising for new arena and the improvements. And so we had one meeting with them 2 Wednesdays ago, I think, and then I think we're meeting the first week of October with the sheriff and talking about maybe hosting them here. They would be willing to build some buildings for storage and make some investments into the space. So that's kind of exciting. So, but the Chili Cookoff, the raw numbers. We're waiting for one number, which is the Block 15 beer money. We just got the money from Four Spirits, which our profit on alcohol sales was $1,000. I think they sold something like 247 drinks or something. And they basically take the cost of the employee that they had there and the raw materials, and then everything on the top, the profit gets donated to the Chili Cookoff. So we got $1,000. So we're looking for probably 600 or 700 from Block 15. If we get that, we'll be over $18,000 for total proceeds. So that's a lot. The most that looking back that I can see is about 14,000 was the last few Chili Cookoffs. So it was, as Catherine knows, it was crazy this year. We ran out of stuff. We give away a little cornbread with our chili, and my wife and Charlotte Kepi make them, and I want to say we ran out at I know there were 600 of them. So we ran out. I know we gave out over 600 cups of chili, which, oh man, I don't know about Catherine, but I was exhausted the next couple of days after, man. It was brutal, but it was so fun. Killer turnout. Weather was great. The chili was great. There was a couple weak chilies, but and Catherine, I don't know if you know, but it's in the paper. I thought their chili was second to our chili, only second to ours. No, but I thought the chili bang bang chili was excellent. I love that recipe. And I thought La Raquitas was excellent. I don't know if you guys tasted La Raquitas. They
were pretty good.
They
It
were
was very good.
they were really good.
The sheriff's office had a pretty good chili too.
Yes, they did. I agree. It would be hard to judge it. I mean, that's why we do it the way we do, where we have 2 judges for each group instead of having to eat 15 or 20 or 30 different, samples. It would be really hard to differentiate between the chilies. But I just want you guys to know I'm really proud of that event now. I think it really puts a really nice face on the city of Philomath. I think it's a classy event. I think people have a great time. The competition's a blast. We have great businesses that help us. And it's funny, the sheriff says he's got like 14 or 15 different businesses that like first time they've come, oh, we want to have a team. We'll see next year if they really want to. But
Right.
I mean, we're at the point now though, next year, I don't know if we can handle anymore. Now I say that nicely that I brought this up before, 750 people. That was, I don't know, Catherine could probably answer too. As a team, I don't know if we could have handled 100 more people in that space. That was tough. And to get the amount of chili you would need to handle that, I mean, you'd have to have 4 or 5 more teams participating to get the 40 or 50 more gallons of chili to handle 100 plus more people. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, how it goes next year. If we add a couple more teams, where that line is, the comfort zone of, 750, 800 people in that space in a 3-hour period. I'm happy about it. I'm super happy. I'm really proud of it. I think it was great. But we'll see what happens. But
As a participant, it didn't feel uncomfortably crowded to me. I was there, I don't know what the hour was that 3:30-ish maybe. And yes, there was a lot of people and it was exciting seeing everyone and visiting, but it didn't feel that point of being so crowded that I'm gonna leave.
Right.
It's just too.
it didn't look it,
No.
but at the booth, and I think it's our operation. I don't know how Catherine's team does it, but we're selling those raffle tickets for the rifle, right? So we don't have any space behind us because there's a fence there. So we have this group of people that are buying raffle tickets. And then we're serving chili out the other side of the table, and it's just packed. I don't know if you saw it's just, it's packed. And it just feels to me like we're just doing this, and it's hard to even catch up sometimes. It feels like you're not having the conversations we want to have with the people that are coming to the booth. But we need to fix that. One of the proposals is to have a separate booth for all the teams to sell their raffle stuff. So you're not bogged down at your booth doing it. That was I thought that was a really good idea. Although you don't get to personalize it,
Right.
Because like, I don't know if you guys know Dispatch, I bought some of their goodies they had some great muffins and brownies and stuff that they were raffling, and different people had different raffles going on. So you kind of attach the raffle to the team, but that's one of the proposals is to sell the tickets at a separate booth. So anyway.
I'll just toss out support for that. I think it would be nice just because you could buy multiple raffles all at once. And I know that from our booth standpoint, it was hard to move from that money space to the serving space.
Yes,
and,
I agree.
and there was a period where it was straight on for a couple of those hours. You just didn't stop dishing up chili. So to step aside and do that raffle, but it wouldn't be hard to put like a little name plate or a name tag or something on the front of, say you did the jars, like I think that's what most of us were doing for the tickets.
Right.
Just in front of that, just put that visual representation of Benton County Sheriff's Office, Philomath Police Department, whatever those logos are for each of those individual businesses and or, well, whichever teams, then at least you're branding it, might work.
Yeah.
But I think it would be nice. I think some of those raffles kind of got off to the side, like you couldn't see them all at all of the booths because there were so many people doing the chili part, so they might have been missed.
Okay, for you two, you three, let me ask you this. One of the proposals is, when we hand the people the map, on the back of the map, one of the proposals for next year would be put the raffles on there. So you knew if you wanted to buy tickets for XYZ, like you wanted the Biggs Tire gift certificates, that you knew that booth number 7's got that, or wherever we're selling that. to have, so people know when they come in, because a lot of people don't even know you're doing raffles until they get up to your booth. So do some
I'll be
better way of,
honest, I only knew about yours because you have the rifle hanging in the booth.
right. That's
And I
quality
didn't-
marketing, my friend. That's
Yeah.
quality marketing.
And I
Hang a
didn't
gun
really
up in
notice
front of a
any
bunch
of
of
the other
gun
ones.
nuts. Yeah. Yeah, I went around to all the booths, obviously, and I started buying raffle tickets around, and I won a bunch of them. I won some goodies at the dispatch, and I won a little basket of homemade jams and stuff. So that was great. I just think, I mean, it's amazing that we made $3,100 on raffles overall.
Wow.
Of course, a lot of it was the gun, half of it, but
Mhm.
that's still a lot of money to go into the charity pot. I mean, we could do a lot better if we figure out some way to get the word out that we're selling that, and people know when they show up to the event, bring some cash and have some money, because there's going to be some other, maybe do a better job of advertising on the Facebook,
on the website.
on the
itself,
website,
or-
yeah, or on the website, what's available during the auction, because people will donate
Sure.
stuff to auctions,
Yes, absolutely.
especially for good charities.
And I was going to say, even if you had a separate booth for those raffle items where people can go into that center,
Huh?
to have them listed on the back of that map, people could say, oh yeah, I definitely am going to be hitting that raffle area.
Right.
These
If they have
are
an interest in
things-
one of those things.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so having that advertising on the back of the map would encourage people to then go to that specified area for those raffle items.
Yeah.
Because it would
I
be
agree.
an advertising.
Yeah.
ploy for better word. I
Okay,
like that.
well, anything else from
So-
the, yeah, go ahead, Catherine. Yeah, go.
Yep, I just want to do a shout out to one of your competitors, but really one of our partners. So the Benton County Sheriff's Office, for the first time in 5 years, is doing their Citizens Academy.
Yep.
We took that opportunity to participate. It's a 10-week program with 2 field days. And just want to share that it was neat to see how Benton County Sheriff's Office interacts with our city as well as the others in the
Oh, yeah.
county. But we've already had the chance to experience firsthand the drones and how that whole system works and how they
Sure.
utilize that, but also the tracking and the drug dogs. We had real live demonstrations of those, and also had the chance to ride with the Marine Patrol, so out on the river, on the boat. But it's been a good time, and it's really good to see the value of the Sheriff's Office,
You bet.
not only rural, but for us as well. So
No, we have a
good
great,
partners.
I badmouth them because I can. But Jeff and I go way back. You could ask Jeff about me. Well, maybe you shouldn't ask him about me, but when he was brand new, he worked with me. I'll leave it right there. I did Jeff's background when he got hired, so he owes me his career. No, we have an amazing relationship, and that's probably part of the problem. Actually, our guys work with their people all the time, and they're very close. And that's where a lot of that, hey, come work with us, kind of comes out. Hey, you can work with me, and you don't have to stay in the city of Philomath. You can go down and work over here, or work in Adair Village or North Albany, and you can do these different things. So that hurts us sometimes, but it's also important to have those relationships. The Sheriff's Department's been amazing. Jeff's a great guy. I really advocated for him to get hired in that spot. I think the world of the guy, and we've got a great relationship. So whatever happens. I know he'll help us in any way we need it. There's no doubt. So you're also could be my advocate, Catherine. I complain, and you could talk to Chris about this. I complain every year when we have our city one that I don't have enough time. I get a half an hour. I can't explain how to even write a ticket in a half an hour. This year I got an hour, I think, because I think the judge is out of town during and I might even get 2 hours. I would love to have a little mini thing for a day or two, a couple hours here and there, to really showcase what we do and talk about past cases we've investigated and how a small town police agency works. It's hard to do it in that short period of time. So a lot of people, yeah, I'll just throw that out. So if you guys can, needle my boss a little bit. I enjoy that. I taught at Corvallis PDs for years. I did the whole detective section, and I did it at DOJ, and I enjoy that interaction. It's great because what's funny, and I'm saying this out loud, you get a lot of law enforcement detractors and that purposely sign up for those. I don't know if you saw them at the Sheriff's Department one, but you'll get some people that sign up because they think we're all bad guys, and they see TV and the TV shows, and they think we're all corrupt. And I love that interaction to show people what really happens in a real police department and how it works every day and what the oversight is and what our legal parameters are and how a search warrant works and all those kind of things we like to share because it's the real thing. It's not, what they see on TV. And so I take that opportunity very seriously. I think it'd be, fun. So anyway.
So we could use the Citizens Academy the way it stands with your one session, use it as a springboard to a mini police academy in the city of Philomath or mini.
Oh yeah, mini police. Yeah, that'd be, yeah.
Like a 1-day session coming out of
Or
that.
a couple. Yeah, I told Chris I could do a couple sessions easy. A couple 2-hour sessions, as long as you can listen to me for 2 hours, and I can talk for 2 hours straight, no problem about everything we do. But stuff like what traffic enforcement looks like, what DUI enforcement looks like, how we do it, how do we do what shift work looks like in a 12-hour shift, what our equipment situation looks like. That's all good stuff that people should know about and how we do business.
And couldn't that change someone? Wouldn't that be helpful in today's environment of what people believe
Yeah.
about public safety?
Absolutely.
A chance to kind of turn the tide locally about what people think and what people see,
Yeah.
and their understanding of what police work is.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that would be a good thing.
Oh, I think it would be too. I mean, we're so different than the bigger agencies because we do go to those calls. We've been out at all these different, we go to calls with people are upset about chickens in their next door neighbor's house, or, bigger agencies don't handle those small town nuisance calls like we do. We handle a lot of things alone. I mean, our officers make arrests alone, I'd say 90% of the time, which is that's why hiring the right person to work in a town this size is so much more important in my background. When you work you work at Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, that had to be super dangerous. Well, I worked in South Compton almost the whole time I worked there, that whole area, South Central Los Angeles, but I also had 25 officers working in the same district as me the whole time. So if you made a traffic stop of a known gang member and he was wanted for murder, you'd have 15 police officers there in 10 seconds. I mean, it's completely different. And I say that jokingly, but on the other hand, it's true. I mean, the danger level of a city is one thing, but if you have enough resources, you can do it. If you're in a small town, you stop somebody bad in the middle of the night, it's got a felony warrant, they don't go back to prison, and you're by yourself, and you're out, a quarter mile outside of town, and the next backup's 10 minutes away. That's a big difference. And having to train people that make really good decisions to be safe in those situations is incredibly important for us. And that's what picking the right person to be able to do that without using undue force or making sure you're calling backup at the right time and waiting for backup to come instead of trying to take action on your own and all those things that are difficult to train. But that's why it's important to get good people. So I sell that, and I think it's worked so far. It's just a matter of we're in this bad spot right now. It's bad timing. So
2 more comments.
Yeah, go.
Thanks for that also. I just want to make sure that whatever we do in outreach, that we include the body cam recordings of you on chicken nuisance events. I think that would be helpful. And then also just want to shout out quick. So the Justice System Improvement Program is just starting to put out some of its public facing, or more intentionally public facing engagement, letting folks know that bond is coming in May of 2023. And the importance and the value of that bond to our community. If there's a way that we can, I know there's been asked to bring that to the city. I'd really like to see that opportunity occur here.
I would too.
So
and you guys know, once things are on the ballot, it's illegal for me to make comments, which is really weird. A lot of people don't understand or know that. So electeds can make those comments and back initiatives. Appointed people and chiefs like me, I am not allowed to comment on anything that's on a ballot or anybody that's running for office or endorse anybody or say, oh, it would be so great to have a jail in Philomath, like, we were confronted with a couple years ago. But I can say things like, it's ridiculous that night before last, we arrested a serial wife abuser for a felony, and he was out in 8 hours. And we're still dealing with the guy trying to find his girlfriend that works in a business in our town. It's things like that drive me nuts in my position, that I can't believe we're in a place in this world where we arrest a serial person that has beat the hell out of his girlfriend or live-in significant other numerous times, and we can't keep the guy in jail for more than a couple hours. because of our situation. So I could bring up, and I'm sure Catherine's seen them, hundreds of examples like that. It's just really sad situation for even the most serious crimes that people are walking around. So it's tough, but that's an incredibly important thing that's coming up. And I hope you guys do the right thing. How about that? Is that,
Yeah,
that's
good.
not endorsing it, right? But,
That's good.
so thanks for bringing that up, Catherine. I appreciate it. That's going to be an important thing for you guys to discuss as a council in the months to come that I really can't comment on. I'd love to. I could give you facts and things like that, but that's about it. So, anything else that you guys are concerned about? You want to see for the next meeting? We could talk about it, or shoot me, please. One thing, if you guys want to put something on the agenda, and obviously we have to do it way ahead because of the way we do it. If you guys want to put stuff in future agendas, shoot it out, and we'll get it on there. Anything you guys, I'm right in the middle of accreditation that I bored the hell out of you last time. We just passed, when we passed October 1st, that's when they could come on site unannounced and do inspections of all of our stuff. So we'll be looking forward to that. And then our review is in January, where they come on site and go over everything, the fine tooth comb, and look at all of our records and those records I showed you guys last time. So that's coming down the pike. So
Nice.
we'll talk about that in the future.
Thank you.
So we got that to look forward to.
Oh boy, woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great bedtime reading. I'm telling you. It's important for us, but it's not the most titillating thing to talk about at a meeting. That's for sure. I appreciate you guys' patience on that.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for the information.
I've got my agenda done, unless you guys want.
Anything else, Councilor Lehman, Councilor Bisco, anything else you would like to discuss before we adjourn?
Nope.
If not, then that was no, Catherine, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, then the meeting is adjourned.
Right. Great seeing you guys. Thanks for your
guys.
feedback on the chili cook-off. I appreciate it. I know it's kind of a weird thing to talk about at a police meeting, but that's an important event for us, at least outreach wise and community engagement. It's great for us. So I really appreciate you guys' time on that.
Outstanding. We're looking forward to it next year.
All right, we'll get a team together. Let's go.
I know, I was thinking about it.
It's a blast. Super hard work. I'll tell you that. You can ask Catherine about that. It's a lot of work.
I was on the PYAC team for 3 years back in the day, and it could be torture, but
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the 3-day recovery afterwards that
That's
makes
right.
it even worse, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
You guys should have a city council team. That way you guys could
that's a good
actually,
idea. Yeah,
that would be a blast.
that would be a blast.
Something to think about.
Hey, Councilor Lehman, it's all yours. You had it up.
Oh, sounds like it. Sounds like it.
I do have a
Great.
big pot.
Great seeing you guys. Thank you for everything. I
Thanks,
appreciate it.
everybody.
Right,
All right,
Appreciate
we'll see you
it.
later. See if I
Bye.
can
Bye.
figure out how to shut this off now. There it
Should be a
is.
leave meeting.
Yeah, end.